people that aren't afraid to talk, I guess. I don't know. Right?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Josh and Jason Monday Christian and Conspiracy Podcast Show. I am your host, Josh Monday. If you don't know me, I'm a Christian rapper, devoted husband, father, and Army veteran. And today we have a mega show. Some people would call it a round table. I would call it a flat table. Okay, so today we have allegedly Dave. We have Mark Sargent and Dave Weiss all together on one show. So thank you guys so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. This is going to be an amazing, I think an amazing show. So first off, guys, what I would like to go through is Romans 3:3-4. It says, for what reason, if some did not believe, shall their unbelief make their faith of God without effect? God forbid. Yeah, let God be true, but every man a liar, as it is written, that thou mightest be justified in the sayings and mightiest overcome when thou art judged. Okay, so let me tell you guys what man says real quick. Okay, man says that there was a big bang in the universe 13.8 billion years ago, and it says 4.6 billion years ago the sun formed, 4.5 billion years ago the earth formed, and it said 60 to 175 million after that the moon formed. Okay, and so what does God say? God says on day one he created the heaven and the earth. Day two, he created the oceans and the firmament. The dry land. Day three, the dry land, plants and vegetation. And day four, he created the moon, sun, and the stars also. So I'm just letting you guys know, besides the fact that nothing was rotating around the earth around the sun on day three, also they're trying to give it to you as if the stars were created first, the sun second, the moon or the earth, and then the moon. So they even mess it up there, you know. So I challenge you, Christians. Anybody that's into the Bible that want to step on the word 100 or want to be part of the word 100% to just read Genesis 1 through 119 and find out exactly what God was saying there. Okay, guys, day one, day two, day three, day four, day five, day six. I take it literal, and it will open up your eyes to what we're about to talk about today. So first off, guys, I want to say, obviously, thank you guys for coming on. I appreciate it. And I want to ask you guys, can you guys come up with like 3 of your best proofs that you feel like that the earth is flat? What is your like best proofs? Yeah, Dave Weiss, you could start if you'd like, and we'll go.
I mean, the simplest one is water relentlessly seeks the ultimate base level, lays flat, testably, measurably, scientifically, provably flat, large bodies of water. When I mean that, I mean anything bigger than a gallon of water. Don't give me the whole drop nonsense, Globies. And that's the biggest one. That's the one that got me. And then my second one is Dave Murphy said it. Said the earth was flat. I'm like, hey, that guy, he must know something. And then I started listening to Dave.
Okay, cool.
So I guess I'm the Neil deGrasse Tyson of the flat earth world. Huh?
There you go.
Well, you kind of, yeah, I think you are. When I listened to you on the movie Level, I immediately was like, was drawn to listening to you, and also Dave Weiss and Mark Sargent. You guys are very intelligent and in this community, you know. So I know some people would probably judge us and say that none of us are, intelligent or smart or,
Josh, when did you come into flat Earth? What brought you in? What was the first thing that brought you in? Sorry to interrupt with my question, but you
guys can ask me whatever questions you want, because I'm on the biblical side, and I think allegedly Dave is the biblical side, and Mark, you believe it, and I think I believe you believe the biblical side as well, Dave. But for me, it was on episode 3. It was a couple episodes before I had you on. What I did is I heard about it a while back, but I never actually committed to it. But once I opened up the Bible and I just started going verse by verse in Genesis, and then I found out about Joshua 10:1, and then I found out about Habakkuk, where he's talking about the sun stop. All this stuff was opening my eyes. So I think it was episode 3. And then when I had you on, obviously you stamped it for sure on the secular side and the Bible. Once the Bible says it, for me, my whole foundation and everything is the Bible. So once I found out the Bible says it, I just 100% committed to it. And I would do every single show after that.
Well, so let me just throw out one thing though. Before flat Earth, I disregarded anything that had to do with any sort of creator at all. And flat Earth showed me there's a creator. When like my co-host Matt Long on the Flat Earth podcast, he comes from the Bible side 100%. Bible is the first thing he mentions and everything. But if you have somebody that's not a Bible believer, how are you going to convince them the earth is flat with the Bible? If they don't believe the Bible, there's nothing you can quote out of there that'll mean anything to them. So I always like to lead with the science, because the actual science, not the stupid scientism, works for all people that have working minds. And then those on the Bible side can back it up with the Bible. I'll throw it back to you guys. Dave?
Yeah, well, my point of view on this is going from the common sense side of it. Yeah, you can do the science, you can do the biblical thing, but the common sense view is obvious enough for everyone, I think. So my favorite proof is actually the gyroscope. And I hadn't really considered this idea until I was actually flying to Macedonia for that Macedonian talk, a television appearance. And I thought I had to come up with some ideas to actually speak on. So I was sitting on the plane and I was thinking, well, okay, in this plane, there's a gyroscope in the artificial horizon. And I thought, well, if the plane is going over the curve of the horizon, then the artificial horizon should actually start rolling backwards. And so I actually asked the pilot, and he said, oh no, we never have to adjust the artificial horizon in mid-flight. So yeah, just I have to step back on this then. Thing about a gyroscope, when you spin a gyroscope, it is what's known as rigid in space. It is, it spins around and wants to stay in its orientation no matter what. It doesn't matter where it is on Earth, doesn't matter the direction of gravity, nothing. It will just stay in its orientation, okay? And it will resist anyone trying to change that orientation. So in the artificial horizon, it's based on a gyroscope. They spin it up just before they take off and get the reference to the local ground, the ground level. Okay. Now the plane, as it takes off, the plane moves around the gyroscope. Okay. So the gyroscope maintains that reference to level. So when that plane goes over the curve of the horizon, it should again maintain its rigidity in space. And it does. And even the Globers have to acknowledge it, because first time they started to try and debunk it, the first thing they would say is, oh, but the gyroscope aligns to the center of the Earth. And we could disprove it. We disproved that. And then they had to come back with pendulous vanes and things like that. But the gyroscope for me remains the top, proof for the flat Earth.
Nice. Okay. And Mark Sargent, you have the proofs, in your video. So I'm sure you have a lot as well.
You're muted, Mark.
Thank you, by the way, for mentioning that before I even said a word.
I know your style. I know your style.
Thank you. Thank you. I tried not to hit the mute button. All right. Anyway, the three big ones for me were the ones I didn't include. The ones that I learned later. First would have been long distance photography, because I never mentioned photography in the clues. And people just start calling me up. It's like, yeah, dude, I went to the beach and, started shooting long distance. I'm going, why the hell would you do that? It's like, because water, it's absolutely level all the time. I'm going, it's perfectly flat, because I was a big fan of the Orlando Ferguson map when I first did this. The second one, which is my favorite, is gravity versus the vacuum of space. I love using that example on people, because it especially if you have anybody with a science background, because it usually stops them dead in their tracks, because they just don't know what to do with it. It's like, next question. And last but not least would be the Van Allen radiation belts, which I'm going to talk about this week in my podcast, because when they're preparing, Dave, you probably already saw, they're postponing the Artemis mission, which is
there was too many people watching close up. They had to cancel it.
I seriously don't know how they're going to pull that off. But in one of the articles, they were talking about cosmic radiation versus the Van Allen radiation, and they actually said I'm not kidding you. The quote is the safety of the Van Allen belts. It's like, what are you talking about? How did that even happen? Like the Van Allen belts. Oh no, you're perfectly fine there. It's when you get out of there in the cosmic radiation. So anyway, those are definitely my big three, and I use them whenever I can. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Dave.
Can I ask? Can you expand on the gravity one? Because I don't think I've heard you talking about.
Oh,
that,
sure. Well, okay, maybe you haven't. So gravity versus the vacuum of space, which is and Dave usually does it with a straw and a glass. How, you know, gravity is, you know, you can actually create a little vacuum field, you know, and how can you suck soda, you know, through a straw? And what I try to remind people is there's lots of things in the movies which are done for dramatic effect. And one of them is that they absolutely diminish the power of a vacuum. And I know scientists like, there's no such thing as the power of vacuum, you know, where, you know, you get a hole in the fuselage in a spaceship and you just hear this, you know, it's like, oh, we only have 2 minutes of air left. Somebody get something, you know, some chewing gum to stick in the hole. And
stick their thumb in the hole.
yeah, exactly. And I try to remind people, is like, look, you don't have to be in space to do this. We've got, you know, between submarines and deep wells, oil, you know, rigs, there's some pressure environments. We've had some horrible accidents in the past, and people don't get that it's absolutely instantaneous. The when you know, the vacuum versus non-vacuum, there's no middle ground there. And I encourage people to look up. There's a wonderful video. I don't know why the Germans do this, called Vacuum versus a Steel Rail Car, where they apply a vacuum to the inside of a steel, not aluminum rail car, and it absolutely crushes it instantaneously. Anyway, point is that if you had a vacuum chamber above you, in your second floor of your building with a valve, and you pop that valve, what would happen? It'd be instantaneous. It would equalize. Right. It'd be, in fact, you might even be sucked up. Your head might get stuck up there, but it'd be really violent and very instantaneous. And the vacuum would do it every single time. And I go, okay, when you go outside, what happens? I go, why is our atmosphere still here? And every single time, the knee-jerk response is, well, it's gravity. It's gravity. I go, you mean the same gravity that couldn't keep the air in your living room from going upstairs? That gravity right there. And I've even had people, a physicist once, say they wanted to say it. It's like, well, there's more. I go, more gravity? You mean different gravity? Oh yeah, there's the steel rail car right there. It's absolutely brutal. You know, every space show in Hollywood ever would be you know, cut short because everyone would die. You know, at the end of Aliens, I feel bad because Aliens is one of my favorite sci-fi movies ever, where Sigourney Weaver is climbing the ladder and she's exposed to space, right? And it's taking, you know, like a full minute to get empty air out of that bay. I'm going, no. You know, I bought it. Sure. Why not? So yeah, that's my favorite. And it takes a little while to explain to people, but they get it. And I've asked every single time, you know, throw it at scientists. I go, what happens at the bleeding edge of space?
Mark, you have the challenge out there to go in and wearing a spacesuit into a vacuum chamber with another astronaut. Yeah. And here's the thing. We all know, Globers, flat earthers, kindergartners know that if you put something in the high pressure, like a bottle, into a low pressure thing, it will expand, if not explode. Okay. Get a Poland Spring bottle and, you know, fill it, close it, while you're on the ground, and then just go up on an airplane where you barely even notice the slight difference in pressure. And then you open it, and then close it up there. When you land, it'll crush on the way down.
Yep.
And that's in a pressurized cabin. Imagine if they depressurized the cabin. Okay. So astronauts are out there wearing their friggin' snowboarding suits with their zippers and their laces and soft material, and it doesn't explode. It doesn't expand. And no one will address this on the other side. They will ignore it, or they'll go, well, it's less than 1 atmosphere. I don't care if it's 1/10 of an atmosphere. It's going to explode in a low pressure environment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that just expand on what you're saying before is they say there's a pressure gradient. It gets lighter and lighter and lighter, thinner and thinner and thinner until then there's a vacuum of space. That's not how it works.
No. And let me cover that really quick, because some people will say, oh yeah, by the time you get to space, it's this trickle thing, right? And I've talked to a number of scientists that have said that. It's like, oh, there's just so little pressure difference there. And I'm going, that's not how it works. I go, my example is take any box, any cardboard box, put some packing popcorn in it, pick, you know, a little bit of tape on the bottom, pick it up. No problem whatsoever. Okay, put the box back down, put a whole bunch of heavy books on the top of that packing popcorn, then pick it up. What happens? The books just punch through. you know, and you got packing popcorn, a big mess everywhere. Why is that important? I go, because vacuum doesn't care about just the little particles at the edge. If you believe they're going to go after everything. If there's a pressure difference all the way to the ground, in fact, once it got to the ground, they would take the oceans with it, because oceans boil at room temperature. So yeah, again.
Okay.
I was just gonna. Sorry, one more
you can
little
add it.
point.
Go ahead. For
'cause,
sure.
Yeah, Dave mentioned it about the spacesuit. So I was taking a close look at Neil Armstrong's spacesuit.
Yeah.
And if you look, there's like a codpiece that's attached down there in the groin area. Okay, attached with two poppers essentially. And I was wondering what the hell that was. Now, if you go and look at the Neil Armstrong spacesuit that's hanging in the museum, you'll see that it doesn't have that codpiece. That codpiece was removed. Underneath the codpiece is a zip. It's a zip for them to be able to go.
Nice. Yeah, the spacesuit has always worked because, and I've asked people outside the country. In America, I get it, it's different, but outside the country, it's like, why did you believe the Americans went to the moon? It's like, because it was on television.
Yeah, so, of course. Okay, so quick question for you, Mark. So do you believe in the Van Allen radiation belts, even with the flat Earth, or were you just mentioning it to go against them going to the moon, or do you?
Oh no, well, no, you know, I mentioned the Van Allen radiation belts because that was their answer to try to deter people from going up.
Yeah,
which is, you tell people, you know, in 1959, you say, oh yeah, there's this horrible, deadly belt of radiation up there that's thousands of miles thick. And then Kennedy screwed the whole thing up the very next year, where he goes, you know, we choose to go to the moon in this decade, do the other thing. It's like, come on. And then they had to go back to Van Allen and they say, okay, how are you going to get past it? You know, your discovery. And his answer literally was, well, we're going to go really, really fast. Like, okay.
Wow. Do we all believe that there's a firmament up there, all three of us, or is that still open for interpretation for some of you?
I believe there's a barrier, but that's for me.
Dave?
Oh, I absolutely believe. There is a barrier, a firmament. I believe we're in a bubble of 3D space and time. Yeah, space and time exist here.
There's a lot of flat earthers that say, yeah, there has to be a dome because you can't have zero pressure next to pressure. I don't believe the space is zero pressure.
Oh,
I don't think any of us do. So, but there is some sort of dome. What's it made out of? We can talk about that all day. Glass, ice, pressure, you know, who knows what it is. But I believe, and I say that with believe, because we don't have, you know, rock solid proof, but I think there's a preponderance of evidence.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I ask you, do you guys, okay, so in the Bible, in Ezekiel, in Isaiah, and a few spots, it talks about God's throne being above the firmament, right? So it's kind of crazy because what some people would believe is that the firmament must be outside of the universe. So we have, if you talk about the globe model, then what's happening is the globe would be here. And if God's throne is above the firmament and it's outside of the universe, then what's happening with the universe? They say it's ever expanding. So what would be happening is exactly what science is doing. It's going to be going further and further and further away from you. And that's what science is doing. They're bringing you further and further away from God. So I think it's important to note that I don't know where not non-Christians. I don't know where Christians that believe in the globe would place the firmament. Allegedly, Dave, do you believe that God's throne is above the firmament?
Okay. As I said, I actually believe that we're in a bubble of 3D space and time. Yeah. So there is no outside of here because that would be more 3D space and time. Yeah. So it's not a physical realm where the Most High exists. You know, because we are a part of the mind of the Most High, essentially. So he created this realm of 3D space and time, but we exist in it. The Most High is everything. Yeah, I would call the Most High the electromagnetic spectrum. Yeah, it goes off infinitely one way and infinitely off the other way, and we are just a little sort of sliver of 3D space of time. So
okay.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
is God, so God would be outside of space and time, which everybody does believe that. That's Christian, Jewish, everybody does. What about his angels? Because he does have a court in the Bible, like in First Kings, where he's actually speaking to something called the divine council. So now that's going to be angels, and it seems like spirits that he's talking to, and he's asking one of them to go down and speak to a king, and he asked him, what are you going to be? He said, a lying spirit. So what I like to ask people that believe in the Bible and believe in the flat earth, now there has to be a court there with angels. Now, if the devil was outside of space and time, then he would be able to know, the future, the past, and everything. Everybody says, well, the devil's not outside of space and time. Okay, well, are his angels outside of space and time? So what I believe personally is that there's a physical location. Now, God can be outside of space and time, but his angels, I don't believe can be, because there's some that are locked in a bottomless pit, which is said in the Bible, which are physically locked in a pit. But I just
they take on human form, though. That's
they
the point.
do. Hebrews 13:1 for sure, and in Lot. Yes, they can. So yeah,
they can exist. They exist in the spiritual realm. That's we don't have words for it because we are 3D space and time creatures.
Yes.
So, but the realm beyond this, they exist there, but they can take on a form of a human, become physical. I
agree. Okay. All right. That's interesting. And let me ask you guys, Dave Weiss and Mark Sargent, if you believe in heaven, where would you think heaven would be located?
That's an interesting question. I think that heaven would be a non-physical layer somewhere within this realm or above this realm.
Okay.
That's kind of how I envision it. That's how I envision it. Just jumping back to God being at the throne at the center of the earth. This is just a funny observation. I'm not saying I believe it, but you know how when we hear depictions of God speaking, it's this almighty echoing voice. It's like, how you hear it all the time. I just made a video a couple days ago about how thunder sounds in a dome. And these guys went into this big dome and they went into the middle and they started talking and they sounded like God Almighty, the sound. So if God was going to present himself where everyone on earth could see, he'd be up high in the center and his voice would reverberate everywhere.
Yeah.
So it was I kind of liked it, don't know what it means.
So, in the New Testament, when Jesus is baptized, God is speaking, right? He says that this is my son that I'm well pleased, right? So it sounds like he's, a lot closer than people say. If it was, and also like Ezekiel and Paul both went to heaven in the Bible. Ezekiel says that he went up and above the firmament, he saw God's throne. And then Paul was talking about going to the third heaven, which would be, God's throne. He doesn't mention anything about traveling, through galaxies and going past suns and all these different galaxies to get there, because obviously his firmament would be outside of the moon, sun, and the stars, because that's what he said. He put the firmament, right? So I just think it's pretty interesting, but there's some proofs I just have to correct you a bit. It actually says, it doesn't say the Most High spoke, it says a voice. Yeah, a booming voice. It didn't say it was Most High. Okay, just thought I'd correct that. Sorry. It's okay, no problem. So yeah, I think it's interesting. Now, if there was a hell, I know this is off the subject of if there was a hell. If you do believe in hell, where would you guys believe that hell was located? I believe the Bible is pretty clear that hell is located in the earth below us. Where do you guys think hell would be located? Philadelphia. I would have said New Jersey, but okay. Do you guys believe in hell? Just asking. Yeah, I do. I think it's another dimension, though, another frequency. Okay. Cool. All right. Cool.
No,
all right.
As far as I'm concerned, the book doesn't include a heaven or a hell. Heaven is actually here. Right. In that, if you call that the concept of heaven, it's actually here. And for us, hell, there is no hell as such. Again, except a living hell, except your own living hell. So that's what I'm saying. When I think about how people are doing,
for not being new agey, I say we vibrate at a certain frequency. We vibrate at a certain level. The higher you vibrate, the more in sync you are with this world. And so you're vibrating at a higher, lighter frequency. That could be considered heaven. And when you're in hell, you're vibrating at a low, fearful frequency. And you're attracting all of that garbage that comes with that vibration. And so, the saying, birds of a feather flock together. Well, people of high vibration attract people with high vibration.
Okay. All right. Interesting. All right. So let's get back to the flat earth part. So, okay. Do you think when they said that the earth is an oblique spheroid or pear shape was damage control because the flat earthers started breaking down that when its actual like curvature? Do you think that was damage control?
It's all damage control.
Yeah.
Okay. Because of what you guys are doing, right? I mean, I believe. What do you
think? To be fair to Neil Tyson, I believe, and someone will have to look this up, I believe the whole pear-shaped oblate spheroid thing was before us, I think.
I think so also.
Because I don't think he would have said it once we came along.
Okay.
Because every photo that's ever taken of Earth is almost pixel perfect spheroid.
And the argument is you wouldn't notice a 14-mile high bump. With the Earth being an oblate spheroid, if you shrank it down to the size of a pool ball, he said it would be smoother than the cue ball.
Yeah.
Okay. With Mount Everest and everything on there. Okay. Yeah. Which is just a bunch of nonsense.
Yes. Yeah. Again, why would you ever say pear-shaped? You wouldn't. In fact, if that was the case, that's when he started doing the damage control, because pear-shaped, he should have had a writer at the end of that where he was like, well, it's pear-shaped, but it's imperceptible. It's like, well, then why would you call it pear-shaped?
Go ahead, Dave.
Well, he has to say it's pear-shaped because the distances in the southern hemisphere, right? There's more land, there's more area in the southern hemisphere. There is no physics. There is no actual physics for the Earth being a pear-shaped because the forces that he was talking about, the spinning Earth, molten and everything, would act, on the whole Earth, and it would be, a sphere, maybe a oblate spheroid, but there's no physics for a pear shape. But he had to say that because there's more area in the southern hemisphere, so that has to account for it.
Josh, another speaking of southern hemisphere, another one of my favorite ones is plane flight. So we all know how southern flights make these ridiculous jaunts cutting across. So I ask people, if on a globe, if you wanted to go from any northern airport to any other northern airport, any combination, anywhere in the northern hemisphere, would you ever cross the equator? And most people actually are able to think it out and go, well, no, right? Because no matter where you are in the northern hemisphere, get a globe and pick any two spots in the northern hemisphere and draw a flight path. You never go below the equator. And they say no. And I go, you're right. No northern flights ever cross below the equator. Well, southern would be the same thing. Any two southern locations, you would never go above. But as we know, many, many do. Okay.
That's really good. When did you come up with that?
A couple of months ago.
That's good.
Yeah, but thank you. We all stem off of each other. I don't claim I don't even know where it came from, but by everybody listening to everybody else, I don't want any credit for anything. Hey, everyone, take everything and run with it. Run with it. Like if I hear you say something good, I'm taking it and I'm running with it. All right. And if I forget to credit you, that's because I forgot to credit you. Okay.
Dave
but not on purpose.
But think about it though. That is powerful.
Yeah.
Right. And the other thing is, along with that, the Globers go, well, these people, they had to go here to drop off passengers and pick up more passengers. There's plenty of passengers that want to go from here to Peru or wherever that's going. Okay. That's the dumbest thing ever. But the one that really gets me is the emergency landings that Eddie documented, right? Every one of them, they went like 1,000 miles out of the way and they got there in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Wow.
People aren't addressing that.
Yeah.
Like there's an emergency. Let's fly 1,000 miles over here,
Yeah.
No. And then they're all on the path. Okay. Emergency landings is a killer proof. That's why I kind of try to mention it in every interview I do.
Oh yeah. That's amazing. All right.
I do. What's quite funny as well is when Max Egan went to disprove this idea of southern flight plans by flying direct from Australia to South America, I think. Yeah. He live streamed the whole thing. Okay. He also had a compass with him, and he noted, because he was trying to disprove us and say, I'm flying a direct flight, and just to prove you wrong. But his compass disagreed with the aircraft's compass, and for most of the flight. For some of the flight, it agreed, but for most of that flight, it was off. And so it's pretty sure is they took off, caught the southern jet stream, whizzed round the southern jet stream, and then went back on course and to their destination.
Rob Skiba actually took Max's headings and marked them on a flight path from where he took off to Australia, and they made perfect sense. Here he's going northwest, and then for a very short period of time, he was going west, because we know that you can't fly straight and go into west, and then it went southwest, south, and it lined up perfectly. That's just a coincidence, though. Okay, that's just a coincidence. So that and Dave, if he also did take a faster sweeping path with the jet streams, you get the same readings. It would be the same. It would be the same thing, but it works perfectly on a flat Earth. And I thought that was killer right there.
That's amazing. I didn't see that. That was amazing.
And rest in peace to Rob Skiba too, man.
Yeah,
he did some amazing work and got
his work will live on.
There. I know he's up there.
A lot of it out there.
Okay, so can you guys give any advice approaching somebody that is just indoctrinated to all heck? I mean, I have
run away.
Any advice like to open up the door to where you're not just like, because obviously you go into a bar and you just say, hey, the Earth is flat, you'll be fighting. So any way like to break that barrier, like I'm talking about gently, I'm not talking about like flat smacking them. What's a good way to open that door so that we could speak to people in a professional and courteous manner?
Moon mission.
Yeah.
Moon mission, especially in the United States, because there's so much, wave the flag, go team. The moon mission is a great litmus test to see where they are. I think Dave Weiss has done this a few times.
I'm afraid to ask early in an interview, because if they say they believe we went to the moon, I'm just like, I don't even know where to go from there. So sometimes I just pretend that they know we didn't go to the moon. But yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, because you can hammer on the moon missions for a while with people, and that'll get them somewhere. And I've even had people come, but even that has a limited effect, because if they believe in the moon mission, they really, really believe just in the space program at large. And I've had people, I'm not kidding you, where they've said, okay, fine. Apollo is a piece of junk. We, never met to the moon, but you can't tell me that the space station is fake. I was like, what? And seriously, they're just holding on with their fingernails to the space program.
All you have to do with the space station personally for me is when they tell you that it's orbiting at 17,500 miles an hour, and then the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, and then we're rotating around the sun at 66,600 miles an hour. Do people realize how insane that you'd have to be to jump into that? And like you guys talked about, the vacuum of space and asteroids and meteors and all these different, and there's so many complications to that. I personally just feel it. And then Dave, allegedly Dave had an amazing, I think it was you where you talked about how many satellites are in space, and every time they have pictures of the ISS going around like the Earth, you're not seeing any satellites whatsoever. So I think
there's also the idea, because the idea of orbiting came out from Newton's cannon, a thought experiment Newton had. Yeah. So literally the ISS is falling to the Earth, but missing it. That's the idea. So it's falling around the Earth. But the point is that it's now they've turned off another effect that would always happen if, in that case, the centrifugal force. Yeah. So if you've got a bucket with water in it and you start spinning it around your head, right, the water is stuck to the bottom of the bucket, as it's spinning around. those astronauts should have been a red smear on the outside wall of the of the ISS, or at least stuck to that wall as it's spinning around. But no, they're falling. They're not spinning at 17,000 miles an hour. Yeah, they're falling. No, it's rubbish. It goes against, if they believe one side of their model, they have to disprove the other side of their model.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Dave, you're muted, Dave. I think you want to talk.
Yeah, Mark, you're supposed to help me with that.
Damn it.
They have the ones that are, that are supposedly moving around the land and faster than the Earth is moving. Those are closer, moving faster. And then there's a certain distance where the drop would be exactly the same as the rotation of the Earth, and that's a geostationary satellite. There's only a certain amount of space that works in. And then we have the Epic Deceiver, I think, is out there, and now the James Webb Telescope, which is at a Lagrange point. Okay, a Lagrange point. Lagrange point is the point where the Earth's gravity and the sun's gravity are neutralized by each other. So you can park a satellite there. Okay. And even though the Earth is spinning and orbiting and chasing the sun, it could stay in that Lagrange point beautifully. And we can turn that satellite to that telescope to focus on distant galaxies, where we can do time lapse, which means that it's not moving. Okay. Right? Time lapse, right? I watched it. I've been trying to find it. No, there was a Nova show long before I was a flat earther about these giant telescopes doing, it was about the deep field image, right? The deep field image showed all the, we're focusing on a piece of the sky the size of a piece of rice. And we zoomed in and we saw 100 million galaxies, okay? Or whatever the number is, right? And it was doing a time lapse where this giant telescope, the person, it was a long exposure, and the operator had to wear socks because he had to walk carefully not to shake the cement pad that it was on, because the slightest vibration could ruin the image. Right? Are they forgetting that we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, orbiting at 66,000 miles an hour, chasing the sun at 500,000 miles an hour? Okay. Are they forgetting about that motion? And now you put a satellite in space. This thing is moving, mimicking all of that stuff and moving in its own speed just to keep up with the spin of the Earth. Okay. This is so ridiculous that most people just short circuit and go, well, I'm not a scientist. That somebody with the math figured it out. Yeah. Absolute and complete and total nonsense. And the other thing is, did you watch that's not what I want to show. Did you watch the launch of the James Webb? It went up, and of course, they're showing the curve of the Earth. And then when the telescope launched out, first we lost image, right? Like we're just above the Earth, and the signal is all glitching out, right? So this thing moves away, and then it starts to deploy the wings of the telescope right here above Earth. Are they forgetting that this thing now has to travel 1 million miles away and go park itself at Lagrange point 2, L2, if you will? Okay. Look at this thing. This is like, they're like, oh, let's get an old Timex watch, strap it to a salt box, and then we'll make some flashes, right? And then we'll deploy it. This thing has to go park itself. No one talks about how it's going to move 1 million miles from here and park itself.
Yeah, James E. Webb is also a 33-degree Freemason, so they're obviously paying homage to that as well. That up there.
That flickering distortion, that's a nice new trick.
Yeah, look, and it's deploying right here. It's deploying the arm. No, that's the watch band. Look at it. It's a friggin' watch band. Okay. This is what they showed us. This is live. Okay.
Wow.
But we got the curvature of the Earth there. And anyone notice, on all of these fake missions where, we're sending Captain Kirk up there and everything, everyone's going, oh, I saw the curvature of the Earth, They all say saw the curvature. I know you've seen that. But when Felix did it from the Spaceball jump, you can tell he's lying because he screwed up. He goes, oh, you could see he couldn't say curvature, right? Because he was lying. Listen to what he says. He screws up the word curvature.
Curvative.
Yeah, what did he say? What?
He said curvative.
Curvative, yeah, because that's when he was lying. He's not a good liar.
And then damage control
Yeah.
on that as well. You know, Neil Tyson DeGrasse has to come in, do damage control. Well, he had a fisheye lens. You can't see it from that high. They just want you to have to literally be an actual astronaut to see the curvature, which is we're not going to ever reach, right? Unless, I mean, as far as like us, maybe you guys will. I don't know. It would be nice if they would try to prove it wrong, but they act like they don't need to and just, they brush you guys aside. You know, they'll never debate you. I know that they wouldn't. I don't think that Neil Tyson DeGrasse would debate.
Well, no, he doesn't. He doesn't have time for us. He doesn't have time. There's no time for talking to flat earthers. Obama told us that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I sent an open letter to Neil deGrasse Tyson. Maybe
that's a great one.
5 years ago, yeah. And I not only did I send him 2 physical letters, that is, her work address, well, 2 of his work addresses. I put it on all social media.
It was mirrored on 50 channels and sent to him.
So he couldn't have ignored it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, no.
Okay, so let me ask you guys this. How old do you believe the Earth is? Dave Weiss, you can answer. Mark.
Well, I'm the least qualified to answer this, but everything to me says, just a few thousand years.
Young Earth. Okay. And
Young
Mark,
Earth.
What do you think, Mark?
Yeah. I think it's younger, but I do believe that in other civilizations that were doing things before us. So
okay.
do I think it's old? Yeah. Do I think our civilization only goes back 5,000 years unbroken history?
Or 200 years.
Well, yeah, depending. That's a whole nother thing. But yeah, I don't. Do I think it's billions of years old? No.
I think it's many thousands of years old. I actually got inspired by Iwar Anon's video, The Lost History of Flat Earth. And so I believe in the greater Earth. And, our Earth is just a puddle in that greater Earth. And that puddle is moving around the greater Earth. So, the continents we know of today, well, they may not be here in 1,000 years. They'll get covered in ice and a new set of continents will be uncovered. And those continents have buildings on them from the previous civilizations who lived there.
Yeah, like Tartaria type stuff. All right.
Dave, what was I going to ask you? It was, so I like that concept also. What about beyond the shoreline of that greater pond? Do you think that there's other ponds?
I actually think that's where the dome, the actual dome goes over the greater Earth. And when you go to Antarctica out one particular direction, that's where you hit the 13,000 foot, extent of that dome. Does that make sense?
That makes sense for sure.
So just a fun thing to, and again, anything beyond the shoreline of Antarctica, we're just kind of theorizing here. We're looking around. So, so one concept is, we live here and this is our pond, right? But then there's a greater Earth, which you're talking about. Where is it? This. So we live here in this inhabitable area, and then this moves around, right? Our North Pole follows this circle and our sun follows the North Pole. And so in 12,000 years from now, our world will be over here and this will be an ice age. And, and people migrate with, civilizations migrate. They don't just stay back and freeze to death. Some of them might. That's interesting. But I love thinking about this. Like if we lived here, and just a couple thousand miles away, 10, 20, 50, 100,000 miles away, there's another pond, another pond, another pond, another pond, another pond, right? And these are the planetes, the pieces of the plane. A planete is a piece of the plane. So these could be the other planets. Now, whether this is true or not doesn't matter. This is scientifically possible.
Mm-hmm.
Outer space is scientifically impossible. We want the right to go explore. We want to get airships back. We want to go explore these places and, not be held in this heliocentric prison.
That's very interesting. So also I want to ask you, you came up with the app, the Flat Earth sun.
Can't remember the name.
Zodiac
FlatEarthDave.com. Just go there.
No. Flat Earth, sun, moon, and zodiac clock app. Okay. So how fast do you guys believe in this flat Earth model that the sun and the moon are moving? You know, how fast do you believe they are moving?
Go ahead, I can answer. Who wants to go first? I'll go first.
Go ahead.
So how fast is it moving? I think the sun, for me, when I watch the sun rise on the horizon and set on the horizon, I believe that sun that I see is traveling less than 200 miles during that day. Okay. So divide that out by the length of the day, and that's how fast the sun is moving for me. Oh. But I don't believe that the sun that I see is a physical sun. I believe it is a reflection or projection of the actual sun, right? So let me show you what I mean by that. And I don't know, Mark, if you've seen this, and Dave, maybe you haven't. If I can remember how to spell and where O is, I could find it. Where is my? It's gone. Somebody fill in for me for a second.
Sorry about that, guys. Sorry.
Where the hell did it go? I lost my. Oh, here it is. Got it. Sorry. So right here, I have, this is called my sky sheet. It's the sky. It's where it's become opaque. It's just a sheet. And I have 10 feet on the other side. I have a light. It's actually a square light, but it looks like a round sun. Okay. Now Paige is off to my left. I say, where do you see the sun? And she points to the sheet. From her point of view, she sees the sun right there. If I drew a circle on the sheet, that's where she sees it. Well, I see it over here at the same time. Okay. So if we tried to triangulate where we see the sun, well, I know the distance to her, and I know, everything. It won't work because we're looking at two different points. And I believe that's how we all see the sun inside our personal atmospheric dome, if you will. So the actual sun, well, if it's a physical thing moving around, is it going, on the equinox, 24,000 miles an hour? I don't know. Right. But it depends on where the source sun is. So here, the example I give is get a flashlight and point it on the floor 3 feet in front of you, and then spin around at a rotation of 1 rotation per minute. So then you just drew in a minute's time a 6-foot diameter circle. Now all you do is just change the angle of that sun a tiny little bit, so it's pointing 6 feet away, and spin around at the same rate. That source did not change speed, but I just drew a 12-foot circle. Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
So is the sun even moving from its original place, or is it just focusing its energy, whatever it is? It's probably not a very respectful word for what it is. It's way more than that. It's everything. That's how I envision we see the sun. And there's lots of experiments that you can do that, like, hey, that matches up with reality. Like you've seen my my eclipse, Dave and Mark, where the moon goes behind the sun. Have you seen it, Dave? You're rolling your eyes.
No, I haven't seen that one. No.
Let me excuse me, clear my throat here. Let me show you. So if I go to the eclipses section and I go to this puppy right here. So here's my, whoops, you can't see that yet. Hold on. Oops, I have to go back to, sorry about that.
No problem.
Where is it? All right. So here is my fake sun and the real sun. So I filmed the eclipse, and this is the real eclipse, and this is my simulated eclipse. I have a paper towel which represents the sky, and I have a light behind it, and I'm eclipsing the light with a circular object. We'll call it a Snapple cap, if you will. Okay. So
it's a Snapple cap, isn't
it? It's a Snapple cap.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So here's a film. Somebody was filming the eclipse. Now the eclipse is like 85% here, but it's blowing out the lens, so you can't tell it. The eclipse is about the same amount as this, right? You have these two objects right here. Now, one of them is moving around with the camera, so that's obviously a lens flare. But why isn't this other one moving? What is this? It's not a lens flare. Okay. And it's the same amount eclipsed as the sun is. You can't tell because this is just too bright to see, but that's how much it is. So I say that's the projector outside or within the firmament. Okay. So we'll jump forward here a little bit. So here's my paper towel sky, and I'll show you how I do it right here. And so no one's ever seen the sun approach, eclipse, or leave. So you don't see it. You just see the eclipse. You don't see what's going on behind the sky, right? So you don't see what's eclipsing it. You just see it uneclipsing it. It's moving away, and you don't see it at all. Nothing you can do will let you see it. So then I thought, hey, what if the sky was a little more transparent than that? I believe that projector is always there, but you can't see it because the sun is too bright. But during an eclipse, under the right conditions, we're able to see it. So here it is again. I'm doing it again. Look, there's the projector right there. That's the projector I could see through to the projector behind the screen and compare it. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Well, that's Nobel Prize winning stuff.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah. What? Okay.
But just let me finish.
Yeah.
I don't have proof that that's how it works. Gun to my head, that's how it works. Okay, that's my bet. That's my bet right there. Right, and it appears that that's how we're seeing everything. Where everyone, when you're driving the car and you go, "Mom, the moon's following us," and then they go, "No, you're not, you dummy." Well, she was wrong. It is following you. They all follow you as you move. All right. There you go.
Believe that so do you believe that the sun and the moon are in the firmament or outside the firmament? In that thing you just did right now.
I would so in or within is that could be the same thing. It may be above the limits of the firmament, but does that put it? Is the firmament paper thin? No, maybe the firmament's millions of miles, hundreds of miles, tens of miles. Maybe it's within what we call the firmament.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah. Just curious.
I don't know. What does the Bible say?
Well, the Bible says that the moon, sun, and the stars are in the firmament.
What does that mean? Does that mean under it or in it?
Well, in is like in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So a lot of people believe that it's under it.
But couldn't in be it? Like, let's say you had a snow globe and the glass on the snow globe was a foot thick, and you had a marble in there. Is it if it's in the glass or below the glass? Which one is in?
Yeah. I believe people I believe people interpret it as it being within the firmament or under the firmament.
Go ahead, Dave.
In the actual firmament. But Dave, go ahead.
I was actually speaking about this very thing a little while ago about I was talking about that before you get to the firmament, right, there is a barrier of some kind about 75 miles up, okay, because of the was it Go Fast rocket that they shot up and it was spinning and going up, and it hit something and fell back to Earth. And then all of the Apollo and the space shuttle rockets they all arc under 70 miles. Okay. So that barrier of some kind, a barrier that stops us getting to the sun or to the moon. Yeah. Maybe that is the projection medium that David's talking about.
Exactly.
That barrier that's stopping us from going. And I believe there's a barrier as well at the bottom of the sea, stopping you going too far down as well. Because of Mike DeGrue and his mini sub. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Yep, the super sailing lake within an ocean. Yeah,
that's what he calls it. But again, just like the Go Fast rocket bounced off whatever barrier there, he bounced off whatever layer was down there. I think there's a barrier to stop us going.
Jazz, let me throw something in. Dave, I don't know if you saw about a year ago, or give or take, I had a guy reach out to me, said he was from NASA. I'm like, okay. And so we were emailing back and forth, and he was coming off second. I don't have any proof of who he is or where he is, but the things he was saying were really lining up, that he was with NASA. He figured out the Earth is flat. And he said that so you could ask me any questions you want. I asked him about the space shuttle. He gave me, what the ISS, what that was. And he explained how that's not the purpose of the story, but we can get into it if you want. But he said that I asked about the firmament. He said, as we go up, and I think about the distances that you were saying, he says it gets thicker and thicker and thicker, and then it becomes solid. And he goes, NASA has the capability to go up there and explore but we're not allowed to. That's all he said. He didn't say who said we're not allowed to. We're not allowed to, even though they have the technology. And he was frustrated, he said, at that, where they weren't allowed to go up and explore this stuff. And then he said that he was in the process of moving out of the country, and it got to a point where I was getting some pretty good information, and bam, he disappeared. So, now the Globies will go, that was us, and we were faking it. It didn't come off like a Globie. It came off as very interesting information.
So, wow, that's a lot of stuff right there. So that's, I mean, if you think about the Tower of Babel, in the Bible in Genesis, they're building a tower up to heaven, right? So, and they weren't allowed, obviously, to go up either. It seems that, for me, like, what I believe is hell is in the earth and that heaven is above the firmament. It seems like God is not going to allow you to go to either one in this physical body, and it's just stopping us from doing that. That's what I believe when the NASA scientist says that we're not allowed to go there. Why would God let some Freemason astronauts go all the way to the moon, but he's not going to let some, obviously Babylonians travel up? If it's just a globe, it doesn't matter if they go up, they're just going to lose oxygen. They were so adamant about going up there that when they would drop a brick, they'd be more mad than if a person fell off of the tower they were building, is I guess in the book of Jasher is what it says. So it's very interesting. The Tower of Babel, compare that to what NASA's trying to do. Why would these guys that are scientists, that don't believe in God, that are trying to prove him wrong, be able to go up to the moon? But these guys in the Tower of Babel can't try to go up to heaven, So I think it's interesting to connect those two stories together. It ain't going to happen. We're not allowed to go up there, I believe, until we are spirit in a Christian perspective. I want to have Matt Long on the show for sure, man. It seems like he's a good guy.
The book actually talks about a certain bloodline who is going to set their nest among the stars, and that bloodline symbolizes. Oh, got a phone call.
Okay.
It's all right. It's from my stalker, so it doesn't matter. So it talks about a particular bloodline, and that bloodline symbolizes themselves as the eagle. So you can follow that eagle symbol around the earth, so the Roman eagle, there was a Babylonian eagle, there was an Egyptian eagle, a German eagle, and now the American eagle. So it says in Obadiah, which only talks about the fate of one particular nation, right? At the end of days, it says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle and set thou nest among the stars. So there's only one nation has set their nest among the stars, and they symbolize themselves with the eagle. And the first words supposedly from the moon were, anyone know?
The eagle has landed.
That wasn't an accident.
The first words from the moon should have been, holy effing S, look at the effing earth. Okay?
We're all going to die.
Holy moly. I don't believe that people can live outside, away from our earth. I mean, the isolation being so far away. And I remember in the 60s, I watching news reports about test pilots going up, flying high, and that they would lose. They like some of them said they could see through their eyes, they pass out, all this weird stuff. I think that we need to be here connected to this electrical earth. It's like taking something away from the battery. It doesn't work from its power source. We're all electrical beings. This earth is electrical. This entire place is electrical. Everything. Our hearts are electrical. Our hearts don't pump blood. They electrify your blood so it can travel to where it needs to travel in your body.
Interesting.
Be a clever safety system. Yeah.
So just recently, one thing that I saw that my wife, because my wife she doesn't believe in the flat earth, but she was like, what about
back it up. Where is she? Bring her in.
I know. Come on. No, I'm just kidding.
Bring her out here.
It's crazy, but okay. So, anyways, so she was telling me about when the moon eclipse, which just happened, and she's like, "Look, see, that's the shadow of the earth." Is the moon eclipse something that is? Can you guys explain the moon eclipse, or is that something that we don't know about yet?
Oh no, there's something called a selenalian, which happens actually quite frequently. and that's where the sun and the moon, that's going for a lunar eclipse, is above the horizon at the same time, which means that the Earth cannot be causing, putting shadow on the Earth, on the moon, and also the shadow comes from the wrong direction most of the time, so it comes from above, not below. So
right,
no,
and the other issue is to get a light, or you could probably even do it with the sun, and get like a basketball and hold it near a wall and cast a shadow on it, and then move the basketball away. That shadow just disappears. It doesn't get a finer and finer edge. It spreads out and you lose the edge, right? The shadow just disappears. Do it in a dark room with a single source light, same thing. And then when you cast a shadow of a ball onto another ball, you don't get a curve. You get a straight line. Did you know that? What happened to Dave? We lost him.
Oh, he'll be back.
He's probably on his phone real quick. Just
okay.
I'm interested in what you're saying for sure. Yeah, keep going. You get a straight line instead of
a straight line, and when you do it, oops, that's not what I wanted. Where am I going here? When you cast it onto when you use a flat straight edge, and I'm not saying this does it, onto a ball, you get a curve. You get a curve. So I'm not saying that the Earth is flat and just casting a straight edge. I'm saying the whole idea of a ball casting a shadow on another ball doesn't work. Here it is. We got a ball casting a shadow on another ball, and when we freeze it, it's a straight line. And then
the opposite.
If we cast a ball onto a shadow of a plate, and I'm not saying the moon is a plate, you get a curve line. Okay, you get a curve line right here.
I see.
Right, and then when you compare that to the actual eclipse, what we're saying is it's not a ball casting a distant shadow on another ball. It's something very local. It's some phenomena. Go ahead, Dave.
I have to disagree a little bit with you. When you cast a shadow, a curved shadow on a sphere, you don't get a line. You literally get an S shape.
Oh no, that's when you move it when you move it through, it'll cast it'll morph from a parabola to a flat to another parabola. Okay, so that's another problem. Either way, it's not what we see. It's not what we see at all.
I think the proof of flat Earth is that there are so many phenomena in lots and lots and lots of different areas, right? And science has an elaborate explanation for each one of them. Yeah, we have one explanation. Yeah, the Earth's flat. That's it. Okay. But for every that's the I think that's the video I was thinking of actually. But yeah, so we have one explanation for every one of these phenomena, that the Earth is flat. That's it. But science has to have an elaborate explanation for every single one of these things. Yeah. So Occam's razor says that the Earth's flat and the ball is fake.
Doesn't Occam's razor say so many people couldn't lie? Like so many people can lie. It'd be easier to go than to fake it. No, Neil deGrasse Tyson said that.
Yeah.
Or was that Bill Nye?
So Neil deGrasse Tyson's razor.
Yeah. Oh my God.
He said faking it would cost so much money and resources that it actually would be cheaper to do it for real. It's like, how does that logic even work?
Okay, how many people do you think and NASA would have to know about the Earth being flat? Like, how many people do you think they would have to know to actually do one of these missions? Do you think that everybody that's in the control center are all just sold on it being a ball, and they're just looking at screens that are not doing anything, and then just the astronauts know? Or what do you guys think?
How many people in Chase Manhattan Bank have to know the direction of the bank? Yeah, only those people in the boardroom who would know. Yeah. Everyone else who works, thousands and thousands of people who work for Chase Manhattan Bank have no idea what the hell's going on. That's it. They're just doing their little job, which contributes to the direction that that bank's going, and only those at the top know where that's going.
Justin Harvey's down trying to film the launch that got canceled this morning, and he sent me some pictures and videos. Police have all the roads blocked off. Like, you can't get to where you want to get to film the Artemis launch today. So I told him to ask the cops if they know that the earth is flat, or they just useless plebes following orders.
So in the military, allegedly, Dave, just to jump off that, you're on a need to know basis, right? And you don't even ask questions, you just kind of just do what you do. So I believe that you'd be correct, and everybody at the top would know, and the people would just be following orders.
I got another interesting observation that I haven't mentioned is everyone that I've heard that has worked in Antarctica. We have a couple of plumbers. There are people that they have jobs and they look for people to work in Antarctica. When you apply for the Antarctic position, you have to go through like a whole series of extensive interviews asking you what your personal beliefs are, what you're into. They want to know everything about you. What other place does that?
Right.
Where else do they do that except like, something military? I don't know, whatever.
Military and alphabet.
How is that not discrimination, right? Yeah. Even in the military, though, they don't ask you what you believe. I mean, they don't.
Yeah.
As far as that, but that's some discrimination there. If you're asking people like, what do you believe?
They want to make sure you're not a thinker, a truther, a thinker, right? Yeah. Truthers are thinkers, conspiracy analysts. We're not conspiracy theorists. You guys are conspiracy theorists. You believe, what the news tells you. Those are pure conspiracies.
Yeah, a lot of it's all theory too that they're believing.
I'm gonna go get a job in Antarctica then. If all I have to answer the questions with is whatever you want me to believe.
They're like, perfect, you're hired. So, all right. Well, we're coming up on like an hour and 10 minutes.
Did you guys have seen that on the app on the Friend Finder? There's we have 2 guys in Antarctica.
No.
So if we go down to Antarctica,
are they still there?
Well, so this guy is I zoomed in and he's literally in Casey Station, right? There he is. So he's right there. And I was communicating with him back and forth. And I was like, hey, what's going on? And he's going back and forth. And I go, tell me about Antarctica. And he's, what you doing there? He goes, oh, I just spoofed my location. He goes, I broke in and there's no way to spoof it. And I said, okay, put yourself at the North Pole right now. And then he disappeared and he stopped communicating. But more interesting is this guy, which is right on the edge. Where is he? Is he gone? Oh no, hold on. I am showing, right? Okay.
Yeah.
He was there. He was right along the edge. Oh, he's gone. Oh, no, that's Casey. No, that's Casey Station.
Okay,
I'm on the Pac-Man map. Well, here he is, right here. So it's like, and this is, I can't get in there. It won't let me get any farther than that to see what's there. But there's somebody there. So this is the same thing that happened with you remember the what's the Fitbits? The Fitbit thing that happened. So Fitbit tracks where you are, and somebody went to Fitbit's website and was looking at the tracks and found all of these weird tracks in Antarctica. People running in circles, people going in here and then disappearing and then coming out over here. And so they're all of a sudden that was shut down immediately. So we've got 2 people in Antarctica that aren't talking. The guy out there, the first one, I forget what his name was. He had a random name. The other guy's was, it's cold here. That was his username.
Wow.
The Fitbit thing was brilliant, by the way, because they had forgotten, again, new technology, which was a lot of military guys wear Fitbits. It's like, yeah, why not? Performance, check that out. And it wasn't just in Antarctica. There were military bases that supposedly didn't exist, in the United States, territory, where they were showing, these guys doing squares, and it's like he's zooming in. There's nothing there. But these guys, apparently there's people walking around doing patrols. It's like, yeah, that'll show you.
So, all right. So, we're coming up on an hour and 10 minutes. I know I'm taking, Dave, we only had an hour with you and everything. So, is there anything you guys want to, like, any last words you guys want to leave for the audience that where they're just like that, that you guys would like to say?
Go to Flattoberfest. Go ahead, Dave.
There you go.
I just like to say thank Dave for allowing us to be on the show with him for an hour.
Stop that. I am honored to be here with you too. You're such a douchebag. All right. You are Neil deGrasse Tyson of the Flat Earth.
Any last words for the audience, before you guys go? This is, I don't know. Hopefully at some point you guys will be back on a podcast together. I think
Josh, where are you located?
I'm located in Southern California.
Oh, you got up early. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are you coming to Flattoberfest in South Carolina, October 20th, give or take?
I don't know. It'd be a great thing for my show to meet all these
wonderful
people.
I'll line you up with it. I'll introduce you to everybody. Flattoberfest.com, flattoberfest.com, or flatearthfestivals.com, same place. And it's also in the app.
Karen was going to try and get me over there for it, but I think the restrictions of
Dave, just get the thing. Just do it, Dave.
Yeah,
do it for Flattoberfest.
So, all right. So, is there anything like West Coast that are lined up for?
This is the only thing that's happening. This is the one not to miss. Dave's going to fly over from Europe. All right, all right. You have to come from California. Flattoberfest.com. It's going to be amazing. October 20, 21, and 22. It's going to be a blast, and it's just getting together with like-minded, awake, aware people. There's nothing better, right? Than walking. We go out in the world right now. We're surrounded by NPCs and I don't know what you want to call them. It's just there's so many low vibrating people out there. And they're not willfully ignorant. They're just ignorant, right? Mm-hmm. There's every one of those blue dots on there. Everyone that shows up at Flattoberfest, everyone is your best friend. It's amazing.
Yeah, there's some beautiful
Dave,
people
the conferences that you've been to, nothing's better than being around those type of people.
I've got to say, it was the most amazing conference I've been to was the one that I met you at was it Denver?
That was fun.
All the people that I've been communicating with and bouncing off and that. I mean, it was amazing to actually meet them.
And bring your wife. We'll convert her right there for you. No problem.
Seriously, I'll just flat smack her right there.
Bring your wife. Right. No, we'll flat caress her. Okay. And then, then the next day we might flat smack her. And the third day we'll flat choke her.
Hey, Josh, yes, real quick. There is a meetup, by the way, in Southern California, September 24th.
Thank you so much. If you could email me that, is that okay?
I will shoot you the link to it as soon as we're done.
Thank you so much. And everybody that's listening right now, guys. Okay, everybody needs to listen to this. These guys came on here for free. Okay, they're not charging anybody any money to be able to speak, and they've done countless hours of research. So whatever they have, please support them. Dave, I know he has the app. If you guys want to go to that, I know
flatearthdave.com.
His YouTube page can you guys shout out anything that they could maybe support you on in any way, just to push this thing along? I'm just shocked that Dave's not charging you for this. Wow.
Maybe I am. I told him not to say anything.
Yeah. I'm just gonna keep quiet. No, I'm just kidding.
For me, you can just type in Flat Earth Mark and into Google, you'll find me. And I actually put my physical address on there. So if anyone wants to mail me anything, I don't care what it is. I get the weirdest, for whatever reason, people don't like my head because I get a whole bunch of hats. So send me whatever you want to my address, and I'm more than appreciative of it.
Awesome. And
I was gonna call myself Flat Earth Dave, but somebody apparently beat me to it.
I was gonna be allegedly Dave, but I'm like, oh, there's already a guy doing that. One of the most fun things on the app, I'm upgrading the messaging service. It's going to be like iMessage and on steroids, but people are using it as a dating app now, right? Because honestly, being with a Glober is going to be difficult as time goes on. You need to work on her.
Yes.
But again, anybody that has a brain and is willing to listen occasionally will eventually come over. So don't fret. She'll get there. She'll get there.
I don't want to use the dating part of your app because I'll probably end up with Mark.
Well, here's the thing: whether if male, female, doesn't matter. Because all your best friends are on here. Every one of these people has the potential to be a really good, close friend that you'd like speaking with, because we're all awake and aware. All of these dots are awake and aware.
Yeah.
Oh, I just got to say one more thing because because I've got Mark on here.
What?
When I was doing the Globe Light tour across Europe.
Right.
Okay. So we had a bus, a motorhome, and we had sort of pictures of all the flat earthers, the famous flat earthers over. And we only had one spot to put Mark Sargent's picture, right? And it was over the toilet window. So from the outside, you just saw Mark Sargent, but for inside, like I couldn't go to the loo because it looked like Mark was watching me go.
Oh, because the screen was over the window. The print was over the window.
No one told me that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So everybody that's listening, if you could, if you want to support Dave's channel, it's going to be D Murphy 25. Dave Weiss has Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. It's going to be
No. FlatEarthDave.com. All my links are there. FlatEarthDave.com. Easy.
Yes, and then Mark Sargent, he talked about his. So please, guys, go support them. I just want to tell you guys, everybody that's listening, you can spend numerous amounts of hours studying the creation, the flat Earth, the geocentric, beautiful plane. But how many hours are you guys putting in to actually get to know the Creator? I would just suggest, from a Christian standpoint, please, guys, get to know God. Love Him with all your mind, body, and soul. Read the Bible, please, guys. It's going to open up your mind, and it also lines up with the flat Earth perfectly. So if you're into the flat Earth and you're kind of on the edge, pick up the Bible. God is just waiting for you. He's there, and if you knock, the door shall be open. Okay, guys. So I really appreciate everybody listening. Like every single podcast, I'm going to end this in prayer. So Father God, in the name of Jesus, thank you so much for bringing these three wonderful gentlemen together on this podcast. And we are trying to give all glory to you. This is your creation, and you are the Creator. And we love you. We appreciate everything you do for us, from the bread we eat to the water we drink. Anything that we have, it's all glory to you, Father. I really appreciate you. And help these gentlemen. Put a legion of angels around them. Help them when they fly to South Carolina or whatever they do. Keep them healthy, strong, and keep their podcast going. Don't let anybody, try to cancel them or anything, because they are trying to speak the truth. And Lord, I know that absolute truth comes from you. So Father God, thank you so much. I really appreciate you and everything you do for us. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Thank you guys so much for coming on. This is like one of the top shows I think that we're going to end up doing on here. And we appreciate you guys' time, your effort in exposing the truth. God bless you guys. Thank you.